Okay, what I want to do, this is the cutoff switch, the disconnect for the battery and the main line that runs from the firewall. Now, what I'm going to do is, I want to put it between the two seats, so if there's a problem, I can get at it right away and shut down the power from the battery, because that's the heavy cable. So if I put the disconnect here, the only thing that'll be live will be a small battery cable from here to the battery that's going to sit right there. So we're talking about maybe, I don't know, maybe 2.5 feet long. But this heavy cable is the one that's going to go all the way forward, under the floor, under the rug, between the two seats, up the firewall, and it comes out right here onto the relay starter, the starter relay. Now, I was going to put this in the back, next to the battery. And then that way there, this heavy cable, the only time it was live was when you turn the key on. But I would still have to run a hot line from the battery forward anyways. So I figured, what the heck, I'll just put this here. Put this here on the firewall, and I'll put the disconnect in the back to shut it down. But what I'm worried about is these heavy connectors here. I don't want, vibration. I want them to loosen up, and the thing to drop down and maybe touch the steel floor and the connector. So I was thinking, if I make a fiberglass box that fits around this, it'll be on the floor, and then this sits on top of the box, and then the cables fit into the box. Even if they do fall, they'll hit the fiberglass, and that'll insulate them from the floor. So what I did was, I took a little container that all the let's see, what's this one? I think some wire came in this one. Alright, and you can see it's covered with fiberglass. Well, let me show you what I did. I made a mold. So this is that clear plastic box that's a little small spool of wire came in, and I duct taped it down to a piece of plywood. That's all it is plywood. Now the fiberglass won't stick to the duct tape, so I covered it with fiberglass. And there's my little box. I gotta trim it. And I'm not even sure if I'm even going to use this, because I think what this might end up being like, I'm not sure which way I want to hold it yet, either on the floor. If I go like this, and I have some tabs on the top here, that'll hold it up, and it'll bolt to the two holes. I would still have to cut this part out for the wire. Because if I lift this out to hook up the wires or take the wires off, the wires have to come up. So that means right here there can't be anything. And also this has to be, this has to be cut out. So like that, and again on the back side too. So the wire coming in and the wire coming out will be able to be lifted up. Or if I mount it like this on the floor and use this to mount it to the floor, then have the wire come in on top of this, I'd have to cut the top of this out like that, so then the wires can come in and then lift up like that, and the other one on this side. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to go like this, mount it this way with this touching the floor, and then bolt this to the floor, cut this out, and cut the top off, and mount the switch like that. I don't know if it's even wide enough. It may be not even wide enough to put. I might be able to put a bolt through something through here and here. Maybe I can stick it up from the inside in the fiberglass, and then just put a nut on the top. That'll hold this, and then cut a slot out here, like that. and down the other side and up like that, so the wires and the whole switch can lift right in and out. I think that's the only way I can think of right now to do this. But I still would have to put something on the bottom to protect the bottom. You know what I mean? I may have to fiberglass this shut and put some sheets. I mean, that's no big deal. I'll just put some there and that's it. That would be the insulation on the bottom against the floor. So it's like 6 of one, half a dozen other. Do I mount it this way and then have to come up with another way to hold it? Or do I mount it this way and hold it this way and have to come up with some more insulation underneath it for the hole? I don't know. Maybe I'll mount it this way. I don't know. I still need some thinking, but that's what we're working on. I think that's, if everything is right, that's the last. Oh no! Wait a minute. I forgot. I haven't done the gauges yet. I suppose I can put the gauges in. I will have to wait on the speedometer cable. I mean the speedometer, because I don't have the mounting bracket yet. But I can wire up the voltmeter and the temperature gauge and all that stuff, fuel gauge. That would get that out of the way, but I want to paint the dashboard first. So, alright, maybe I'll start working on this here so I can get a battery in this thing. And then I'll start working on the gauges. Alright, cool. Okay. So what I did was I trimmed the all the way around with a bandsaw, and then I took a hole saw and I drilled here and I drilled here, so it was down near the bottom, so with the cable coming across the floor would lay right in there. And then I took my Sawzall and I cut right down through here, pulled this piece out. Then I ground the top flat with a belt sander. Took the switch, stuck it on there, marked where the holes were. Drilled and tapped it for 1/4 20. Put the 2 screws in there. Now what I'm going to do, but this is not how they're going to sit in here. I'm going to weld a little tab on either side. Maybe just one side, that's all you need. And then fiberglass over it. So it'll give something for the fiberglass to hold to keep this from turning. If I leave this round and I put too much torque on the other side, it just might spin inside the fiberglass. But if I put a little piece sticking out and then encapsulate it in fiberglass, it'll help keep it from turning. So that'll sit like that. That sits like that. And then I got some acorn nuts and some washers, and that'll sit like that. And I'll probably just rather than drill through the floor, I'll just take a couple of holes and I'll weld a bolt on the floor so that this will just sit down on top of it, and I can put a couple of nuts, and that'll hold that down. And then this will sit down there. Oh, let's see, let's get down there. God, it is so humid out here. I'm sweating like crazy. Alright. Get down inside this thing. So this will sit kind of like that on the floor. Let's get this out of the way. And here's the cable. Well, that's got the battery end on it, okay? So I'm going to put the other end that'll go to the bolt. And that'll slip right inside there and be bolted to there. Then the other side will come out of here, come out through the center section of the roll bar and out to the battery. And I'll put some of these clips along the way on the floor to help hold it in place. At least that's the plan so far. So that way now, while I'm sitting in the seat, I can reach down with my right hand if I have to, and just disconnect the power to the front. if anything starts to melt, it goes bad. Or if there's a problem, I can disconnect the power immediately. Put it in there, turn it, drive away. You know, and I'm gonna make a little cover for this. Now the cable will be here on the floor under the rug. The rug will be over it, but I want something on the top here, so I can make just some kind of cover that fits over that. That's no problem at all. In fact, I'd like to have this really accessible to me right away, but at the same time I would like to have it kind of hidden. So maybe I'll put maybe I can make like a little console here. I do have a little console out of another car I saved. I can put it down in the bottom in a false bottom or something. But I want to make it too hard to get at, because like I say, if I need to get at it, I need to get at it right away. But so far that's what I got. Cool. All right. It took me all afternoon, but I kept trying different ways. I tried moving the battery up here, right behind the firewall. And then I thought, well, what if the battery, you know, gives off, you know, fumes? As you're going to smell the sulfur, you know, it's going to stink, and maybe that wouldn't work. So I pulled that all apart again, and then I thought of maybe putting the battery over here. Then I figured that'd be in the way of the passenger's feet. There was not enough room. There's not much room under the floor right here. The way I got the cross member, I probably could have, but then I would have to cut the floor all open again, and I started thinking, nah, I don't want to do that. So I went back to moving the battery back to the trunk, which is the heavy cable, back to here. You can see I got a couple of clamps to keep it from moving and chafing and hold it in place. I got another one there. And then I got the fiberglass piece that I made the holes that disconnect. I drilled and tapped the floor, came up with the bolts underneath, put a nut under it on the floor. You know, the bolt came through with a nut besides the floor being tapped, so that locked the bolt in, which gave me 4 studs sticking up in the corner. Then I stuck a washer down on top of each nut, and then I put this fiberglass piece down on top of the washer, and then another washer on top of the fiberglass, and then nuts. And this, although it's probably not really where I want it, but I just couldn't come up with a way to have it accessible to the driver right away. You just reach down there and shut the power off if you had to. I could have put it in the back, but then that would have made it a little bit harder to get back there to shut it off if I really needed to. If I started to move this, the cutout disconnect more forward, that gave me more live wire that's going to be live all the time that I'm not shutting down. So I wanted to move it back as far as I could, still be accessible. It was just a lot of compromises, and this is the only place I could think of. So this is where I mounted it. Now I'm going to I've got the other cable here. I already shortened it, and I soldered the end on, so that'll go in there. Then it'll run out through here, through some hose to help protect it for chafing. I'll probably put that too down along here, even if I have to change those tie downs. Just something to just give more protection for shorting out. Then I'll stick the battery there, hook up the cables, and then start testing everything. But it's dark out. I'm sure it's late. It's got to be, well, maybe almost 10 o'clock. I got to get up to go to work in the morning. So This is what I got done today. I also tied in the grounds for the headlights. I drilled the frame and tapped and put some bolts in by the radiator shelf, so I got those grounds mounted. But that's about it today. Not as much as I wanted, but at least it's something. Alright, cool.